Well, hello tonight, boys and girls. I'm glad you decided to join me on this Alabama adventure. Tonight we're going to be getting close to Bigfoot. I got a little something I want to tell you about. The reason I want to tell you about it, I got it on my mind, and I did a radio interview with a lady down in Florida here a few days ago, and anyway, she asked me had I ever felt threatened or had I ever been frightened or afraid whenever we were out doing our Bigfoot research, going out at night like we used to back when I was able to. Of course, right now I'm not able to get out like I used to be and look for Bigfoot and that type of stuff, as you all know. But anyway, I told her the only time that I could really remember was one night, and that's what I'm going to tell you about tonight. So what I want to do first is this won't be a very long little trip, but I do want to take you on a little trip that I did earlier this afternoon to kind of show you where it is, lay of the land, let you look at some stuff real quick, and then we'll get on back here and I'll tell you about the only time that I actually felt threatened by Bigfoot. Well, hello again, boys and girls, and we're off on another Alabama adventure. And I have changed sunglasses. I got me some round sunglasses. Back years ago, they were called John Lennon sunglasses, and these are plenty dark to keep your eyes covered up. So I guess John Lennon was the one that invented that. Doing a lot of drugs, people can't see your eyes. They can't tell your own drugs too bad. They have to listen to you talk. And I know a lot of people probably think I'm on drugs the way I talk sometimes. But I saw Merle Haggard doing a video a while back, and he had on these same round sunglasses. So that's who I'm kind of copying, I guess. Not John Lennon. I guess I'm copying Merle Haggard. But what I want to tell you about today, I've had a lot of people ask me, have you ever been frightened when you were out looking for Bigfoot? I guess about the only time that I can remember right offhand is one night when I was right down this road here, and I'm going to show it to you. This little dirt road right here is called Blackjack Road or Blackjack Tower Road, one or the other. It's right off Highway 77 in Clay County. And it was just about 3 miles down that road, you will go to a fire tower, and it's called Blackjack Tower. Anyway, that's what I'm going to tell you about in this Alabama adventure, getting close to Bigfoot. One night we were down there, and we did have a Bigfoot, I guess, not really attack us, but maybe he was trying to run us off. But he got the job done. I'm going to tell you about that whenever we get back to the studio in just a little bit, or back to the shack. But I did want to bring you up here and show you this road. There used to be a sign there that said Blackjack Road or Blackjack Tower Road. But in this part of Clay County, every time they put up a sign, like a road sign, somebody comes along and bars it. I don't want to say it they're stealing them or anything like that. I guess they just have a collection, and they keep adding to it. They cannot keep road signs in this part of Clay County. Well, boys and girls, we're going to head on back to the shack and get this video started. There's a big old rain cloud coming right yonder, and it's sure been hot today, so I'm kind of ready for a little rain to cool off. It looks like we're fixing to get one. Anyway, you can smell the privet hedges down here. They sure do smell good, but the bad thing about them is they keep your sinuses stopped up and infected about all summer long. I'll try to find one of them on the way back in and show you one of those. Now here we are. I knew we wouldn't have to go very far. These things just line the roads here in Alabama. They do look good, and but anyway, the blooms on them are just full of pollen that sure makes you sneeze, gives you a headache, keeps your sinuses infected. Thank you. About all summer long. But anyway, that's just one of the drawbacks. Thank you. That's just one of the drawbacks down here in Alabama. We do have plenty of these, but as I said, they do look good, but they smell good, but they do their damage to you. Good-looking Carol in here and get things going.
And now, from the tail end of the Appalachian mountain chain in the heart of the South, this is Alabama Adventures.
Well, in the last few days, it has really turned off hot weather, summertime. It's not hard to actually summertime yet here in Alabama, but it sure does feel like it. So I had to get me up another hat. As you can see, this one's got a little mesh top in it to let a little breeze come across my old head up there and kind of maybe keep me cool a little bit this summer when I am out and around trying to get these videos done and that type of stuff. But what I want to tell you about tonight is one night when I did feel threatened by Bigfoot. It's whatever's wrong with my nose. Let me get it fixed real quick. But anyway, what was going on, Dorothy and I were out doing our research and that type of stuff. And of course, back in those days, Chico was alive, and he always went with us after I decided that carrying a pet like that so Bigfoot could see us handling animals and that type of stuff might be a good idea to bring him in a little bit closer. And that's pretty much what it did this particular night, I guess. But I believe Bigfoot was already upset with some other people in the area, and that's what I want to tell you about now. Alright, so it's been several years ago now that we went almost every night. We had somewhere different to go, or if something was going on in one particular place, we would continuously check the place out, trying to find evidence of Bigfoot or hear him or get some pictures of him or something. And we had a lot of good luck back then whenever we were going like every night to certain places. And this particular place is in Clay County. It's right down Blackjack Tower Road or Blackjack Road, one or the other. Like I said, the sign's gone, so I don't remember the exact name of it. But I went up there the other day, and I wanted to go down to the tower so I could video it and show you exactly where we were sitting along this road. But as with all the little dirt roads around here, the loggers have tore them up so bad that you would about tear up a tank trying to get down the road down through there. Now, I went down the road a little ways in my 4Runner, but I was actually afraid that I was going to tear it up. The roads were in such bad shape up through there where they have cut ruts and dug out holes and all this kind of stuff in the road. You just cannot get down through the road about the 2.5 mile or 3 mile distance it is to the tower down there. But anyway, what we were going to do this night, we had some reports from that area of hearing Bigfoot howls, and we had a report or two that somebody had said they had seen a Bigfoot crossing this particular dirt road. Now, they were beginning to log at this particular time up through there. Woods were very thick. A lot of them I guess, had never been cut, and the woods were very thick. But there was one place on the left side of the road as we were going to the tower where they were logging. So anyway, that's where we pulled off the road. We did go down to the tower, and we turned around and came back up the road about a half mile, and there was a wide spot there, and that's where we pulled off for our little research that night. And what we always did, we would we would just stop the Jeep and on the side of the road in case somebody come by. They had plenty of room to get by, and then we'd take a couple of chairs and sit down behind the Jeep. And of course, I'd get Chico out, and he'd either sit in my lap or he'd walk out in the road on his leash. I never let him off the leash because I was afraid that if he like trotted down through the woods or out in the field or down the road or something, a Bigfoot might get him, and he would have made a very quick meal for one of the Bigfoot real quick, because he didn't weigh but about 7 or 8 pounds. And well, let me show you a picture of old Chico. Still miss him a lot whenever I'm out roaming around and that type of stuff. He was a constant companion. He was a very good companion. But anyway, what we were doing that night, we were just sitting behind the Jeep in a couple of chairs, and Chico was in my lap a while, and he'd get down on the ground and walk around a while. And at one point we heard some wood knocks down in this little valley. We were sitting like up on a hill, and down in the little valley where they hadn't got the wood cut yet, we heard a wood knock, and we listened, and we kept sitting there. That's what we talked about a minute, that we knew that was a wood knock. And we heard this wood knock several times that night, and it was around about 11 o'clock. That's what time that we like to get out, was around 11 o'clock, midnight, till maybe about 2 in the morning. Everybody else was in the bed or off the road, and if Bigfoot was going to be out making his rounds and traveling his trails, that was about the time of night that we found out that he liked to do it. So that's why we got out that time of night. But anyway, we had heard some wood knocks, and there was a pretty good little ways down the road that you could actually see. And on this particular night, the moon was out, and it was kind of light down through there. So we were sitting there, and I was talking to Chico. I had him in my lap or something like that. Anyway, he was up in my lap. I was petting him or something. But anyway, Dorothy said, I think I just saw one walk across the road, which would have been about a quarter of a mile down the road. But the way the moonlight was shining, you could see the dirt road down through there that night. So anyway, after she said that she thought she had saw one or something that looked like a Bigfoot cross the little dirt road, I began to pay more attention. And not long after that, we began to hear wood knocks on the other side of the road. And it seemed like we began hearing wood knocks all around us. Now, what I believe they were doing is the Bigfoot was signaling the other Bigfoots that somebody was in that area, and for them to keep an eye on us, because they didn't know exactly what we were doing, because a lot of logging was going on up there. Anyway, after a little bit, we kept hearing wood knocks here. They weren't all at once. You might go 3 or 4 minutes without hearing one, and then you would hear one or maybe 2 or 3 on different sides and behind you, in front of you. Anyway, I sort of began to get an uneasy feeling, and I could tell that Chico did too, because he started squirming, and he usually sat real still until he needed to go to the bathroom or something, and I would put him down on the ground, and that's when he would walk out in the road or next to the tire. He always liked to pee on the tire. Well, that was one of his little trademarks. But anyway, he just got real restless that night, trying to sit while I was holding him in my lap. He just couldn't be still, couldn't be satisfied. So anyway, I began to get an uneasy feeling too, because that was one thing that I noticed about having a dog out there with us, is sometimes they could sense when Bigfoot was getting close, and they would get restless, or at least he would, and that kind of let you know that they were getting pretty close. So anyway, after we began hearing these wood knocks pretty often, I just told Dorothy, I said, let's just pack up and head on back to the house tonight. I said, something's going on. Chico won't be still, and we need to get on out of here. I think they're pretty close watching us. I just had a feeling that they were mad because of all this logging that was going on. So anyway, that was what we decided to do real quick, was to get in the Jeep and come home. So the way things went, whenever we decided to go home, I always would put Chico in, open the side back door and put him back there, because I always kept some blankets and towels and stuff for him to sleep on or whatever. Chico was real cold natured, so sometimes he always had to be wrapped up. Not always, but sometimes he had to be wrapped up if you were running an air conditioner. He'd just get cold and had to get under his cover back there. So I just put him in the back end, because I always kept the back seat down where he had plenty of room to walk around and that type of stuff. But when I opened the door, of course, the inside light came on. And I guess it must have frightened a Bigfoot or something. I believe it was a Bigfoot, because whatever it was, when it started running, it was on 2 hind legs. But anyway, when I opened this back door, the light shined across the roads. Not very bright. You know how an inside light is on a vehicle. But it shined enough that you could see whatever was in the ditch or whatever. And when I did that, something jumped up out of the ditch. And I turned around. I didn't know if it was a deer or a coyote or a Bigfoot or what it was. I turned around real quick to look, and Chico was whining, and he hardly ever whined anything, but he ran across from one side of the Jeep to the other side like he was trying to get away from something. So I knew something was going on. And when I looked around, whatever this animal or creature or being or whatever it was come up out of a ditch and was on 2 hind legs. I could tell that much, and it was covered with hair. I believe it was a Bigfoot, and it took off running up this little bank. That's why I wanted to go down there, so I could show you exactly what the bank was and everything, what everything looked like that night. But it ran up the bank and took off down through the woods, and you could hear this thing breaking off little limbs of these other pine trees that were across the road as it was taking off running down through the woods. So when I saw that, I turned to Dorothy and told her to just get in. Let's get the so-and-so out of here. There was a Bigfoot watching us about 10 feet away in this ditch over here. So that's what she did. She come on up the side of the Jeep and opened the passenger door, and I was already in getting it cranked up by the time she got in. And when we started off, of course, we had both windows down in front, because it was kind of a hot night that night. We had both of those windows down, and you could hear very well anything that was outside the Jeep or whatever. But anyway, I kind of took off pretty fast, because I knew that this Bigfoot had slipped up on us and was a little bit closer than what I wanted one to be if I couldn't see it. And just as I started off, just as Dorothy closed the door, I had already closed my door, but she got in, and just as she closed the door, something slapped the back glass on the Cherokee. I keep calling it a Jeep, but I want you to know that it was a Cherokee, so you'll know how the glass is and everything, and what one looks like and everything, so you would know what was going on. and something slapped that glass hard. It's a wonder that it hadn't broke the glass. It sounded to me like it slapped the right side glass in the rear, not the large glass across the tailgate back there, but the large glass on the rear end. And when it did this, Chico hollered like something had hit him, and he never did that whenever we were in the Jeep. And when this happened, when this bam hit the window, and he hollered, he come running up through the Jeep, through where the console is between the driver and the passenger seat, and he jumped in Dorothy's lap, and you could not peel that dog out of her lap that night until we got home. Something frightened him. He saw something up close whenever this thing hit, and so I mashed the gas all the way to the floor, and we were spinning coming up this dirt road, taking on off, and you could actually hear footsteps outside the Jeep on Dorothy's side as this thing ran along beside the Jeep as we were coming up the dirt road. And I looked down. Dorothy said something about it, that she could hear something running, and of course Chico was holding on to her like for dear life, and I guess that's what he thought, that this thing was after him. But anyway, now it's kind of funny the way he did. You could not get him out of her lap, and she pulled and pulled a time or two, and then she just said, "Well, I'll just sit here because I know you're frightened," and everything. And as we came on home, but I looked down at the speedometer one time as we were coming up this road, coming up this dirt road, and I was on almost 40 miles an hour, and you could still hear the footsteps of this thing running along beside the Jeep. Now, these footsteps that we were hearing were not four footsteps like a deer or something like that. Whatever it was very heavy, and you could tell it was 2 feet hitting the ground simultaneously. Whatever it was running along beside the Jeep. So anyway, we came on up the road, which was about 2.5, 3 miles. After, I guess, about 100 yards, this thing quit running. And, of course, I didn't slow up. We came down that road that night just as fast as I could hold it between the ditches. So anyway, we got on the paved road on Highway 77, and we came south back to the house. And I carried Dorothy to her house, and told her I would call her in a few minutes, and we would talk about what all went on that night. And me and Chico, we came on back to our house, and in just a few minutes I did call her, and we discussed what had happened. It was the first time that we actually both felt threatened or felt like our lives might be in danger as far as Bigfoot. This was the only time that this ever happened to us. So anyway, after we talked a while on the phone about what all went on, I told her, I said, I'm going to ride up there in the morning to sort of see what's going on, since they are doing some massive clear-cut logging up there. And that was what I did. I waited till about 9:30 or 10 o'clock the next morning so the logging crews would be in there and I could sort of see what was going on. And when I went back up there, now, as you have seen my Jeep in the opening, old Jeep that I don't have anymore, in the opening of some of these videos, it was a red color. So anyway, keep that in mind. So anyway, the next morning when I go back up there, the logging company that is in there cutting logs, every one of their 18-wheeler log trucks are red. So now, was Bigfoot associating a red vehicle with the red log trucks that was tearing up his home and his hunting grounds, his habitat? Is that why he was angry? Because we were also in a red vehicle that night. And I believe that Bigfoot was angry because of the massive logging that was going on up there, and he just associated the red vehicle with tearing up their place, danger for them, destroying their forest. Something red was hauling the logs out of their forest, was hauling their houses and their homes out, and I believe that that's why Bigfoot was mad that night. But anyway, that was one night whenever I did feel threatened by Bigfoot. One had already slipped up on us pretty close. As I said, it was just the distance across a little dirt road. I wish I could have got up there to show you more of what the lay of the land looked like, but he was about 10 foot from us whenever he came up out of that ditch and went running down through the wood. I guess maybe the light frightened him, or he was just checking us out or whatever. But that was one night that I did feel threatened by Bigfoot. So anyway, that little encounter that night made us a little bit more cautious when we started to go out the next time. and Chico was always ready to go whenever at night. Whenever I would get my hat and everything on, ready to go, and my cameras and that type of stuff. I have a little case that I carry all that type of stuff in, and I could go to picking up that case and putting my hat on, and Chico would always run to the door. He was ready to go. He wasn't in too big a hurry to go the next night, but it didn't take him long to get over his little scared encounter up there, and he kept going with us for as long as he and I was able. I can't remember the last time that all of us went, but he went with us for a long time after that. But anyway, that was just one night that I did feel threatened by Bigfoot. I wanted to tell you about that. If you are in an area where they are logging and that type of stuff, you might want to sort of keep a little closer eye out and pay a little bit more attention to the sounds and the sights that are going on that night, because I'm sure that it does make them angry whenever their homes and everything begin to get destroyed and loaded on log trucks and hauled away. And so I guess now I'll bring this video on to a close, but I got a little something else I want to ask you about before I do leave. As you know, I always tell you that the Alabama Bigfoot Society is run completely out of pocket, and if you're in a position where you can donate, would appreciate that very much. What I've been trying to do lately is to get some other folks to help me with some of these videos, but a lot of people are camera shy. They want to get on, but they don't want to be on camera. They don't want their voice, and they don't want to be seen. I know that ridicule does come with paranormal and that type of stuff. But if you would like to do some of the closings for me every once in a while, I would very much appreciate it. And I'll be glad to put you on the ending of the video. All you have to say is about the same thing I do about Alabama Bigfoot Society and that type of stuff. Or if you just like to do the part where I say, good Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, I'll see you somewhere on down the trail. Maybe you just like to do something like that. If you would, send me a video, and I'll try my best to get it on. I'm not the best at putting these videos together. I'll have to get Dorothy to help me do that, but she has had a few little problems lately. That's why I've been having to do the videos pretty much myself. She has helped me on some, but she has had a few little problems also lately with her son. And anyway, just sometimes just things like that happen. But if you'd like to help and you would like to get on doing a closing, I would very much appreciate it. Send me a video, and I'll be glad to put you on. If I can get you on, if I can, it may take a little while until Dorothy can. But I am going to close this video on out right now and say, good Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, I'll see you somewhere on down the trail.